Let's wrap up though with True Detective season 3. Um, this was we did the first episode or two that
First
came
two, yep.
out, and I think we were both cautiously optimistic about it. You got Mahershala Ali playing Detective Hayes, who is in 3 timelines, but is having memory issues in the last one as he's trying to figure out what happened in the case of the Purcell children who went missing, and one was found dead, the other one, Julie, was never really found. Uh, I thought this season was excellent, and then fell totally flat in the finale for me. Um, it's really funny. We talk a lot about how shows often like the penultimate episode is the best episode of the season. And I really felt that way with this, but I felt that way because it had been leading up with all these questions. There were all these like mysteries. And I kept seeing people saying, oh, this finale is going to have to be 2 hours long with everything that they need to tie up. And then the finale comes and it's pretty much just one guy sits and confesses. And then, Hayes has like this one revelation that there was probably some cover up, and that's it. Like that was just it. That there was this one twist, and the twist I don't know if I loved. We'll talk about it in a second, but before we do, your overall general sense of the season. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it?
You're the best. You're the best. Yeah, I liked the season. I thought the direction it ends in was definitely something I did not see. I think most
A
people
choice.
agree with that. Definitely a choice. I think for what it was doing, I think it was well executed. Just we'll see ultimately how the temperature everyone has with that in terms of that defying of expectations in the 11th hour, how that leaves people. Because like I think having just a monologue at the end where a character, ancillary character, explains everything to the audience and the characters, it's like you're watching that and you're like, oh, I get it. Like, and I don't know about you, but like right as they're about to talk to him, I'm like, I think I know exactly what happened. I feel like most people could piece it together before they get the confirmation, but it's almost a little anticlimactic in terms of like you got all these questions and you kind of get most of them answered or addressed in some way, and yeah, it's not super satisfying for a show that's kind of been leading up to a mystery. Um, things like the peephole, the things like Michael Rooker coming in for a scene as Hoyt.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these red herrings or like false flags in terms of like focus on this. Like even all the occult stuff in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
The references
To
to a
ghosts.
pedophile ring, all these things that actually were not true or didn't matter.
Right.
In hindsight, done well to mislead the audience. I just think that having it ultimately not be focused on the plot is interesting because it did feel like the plot drove a lot of the decision making, even if the show ultimately was more about Dorf and Mahershala's, relationship and Hayes' relationship with Amelia. But I think it's probably a season that'll age well. And I'm really interested to see more of the think pieces on this, just because it's definitely different than season one. And
Definitely.
season one had a backlash of sorts as well. So, uh, you know, I don't know. How did you feel about that final stinger scene where it's like, we get the monologue from Hayes' wife's ghost, literally, to hammer it home. And like they meet and they get the flashback again. And it's like they meet and they kind of just go off the sunset. It's like, oh, wait, they didn't really split. Huh, how about that? Relationships. Nice. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought um I mean it's funny because I guess in a sense the whole finale is a comment, and this is something Chris Ryan of The Ringer brought up, a comment on conspiracy culture, and
Right.
how
True
you
crime.
can, yeah, you can find all these different things, and you can have all these conspiracies about things that are going to happen. In the end, it could just be the simple answer in front of you, and maybe it's not as deep or complicated, or maybe there's not that bigger occult out there that's driving things. But but at the same time, it feels so disappointing and such like a uh, unsatisfying last breath for the show, at least this season, just because like you had the whole thing about who are these ghosts, and they spent so much time on that. Oh, it didn't really matter. Hoyt as this big bad looming, and then he's just kind of like this, I don't know, rundown old man who uh, had as much to lose as Hayes at that point, and really is just like, I wasn't even around for this stuff. Like I wasn't
Yeah,
involved with this. I just
be
was,
straight with me.
yeah, blissfully ignorant in a lot of senses. Um, that last scene, I thought was interesting because I never really I found myself, I think, a little bit more interested in the case rather than their relationship. So then for that to be the centerpiece felt a little bit of a strange choice, but I guess probably upon a rewatch, maybe I would be more interested in their relationships. I do think Dorf kind of comes out of this as the big winner because while Mahershala, I bet will probably, I said on our post Oscars pod, I think he'll probably win an Emmy for his performance. Dorf, I think, is the one that stands out as giving the most surprising and the best performance overall. Um, I actually thought his fight scene was pretty interesting there at the end. Um, you know, I'm still trying to make sense of, I guess, like the stray coming up to him afterwards and what he was really getting out of all this. It's very metaphorical, I guess, just like
Yeah,
wanting to, being the stray, this person who's alone and wanting to protect Hayes and other people all the time. The way he kind of took care of the Purcell dad as well. So I don't know, the season. I think would need to read a little bit more about it and think about it a little bit more, but overall, I thought that this was a great return to form for it after a season two that was problematic and laughable in a lot of ways.
yeah, I agree. Scoot McNairy continues his
Yeah.
character run on TV, um, quickly becoming one of the best guys out there. Unfortunately, uh, he as Tom Purcell got a lot more to do than Mamie Gummer got as Lucy. That's a bit of a pitfall for Pizzolatto usually, but I did think Amelia was a very interesting character, especially because
Mhm.
we never really were quite too sure where she was going for most of the season, and definitely a step up from uh, detective wife that
Mhm.
Michelle Monaghan, I believe, played in season one. It's a definitely a more well-rounded character this time around. And I think, the comments on true crime in terms of what her character did as, writing the book and whatnot, I think is pretty interesting as kind of like a commentary that's a little separate from everything else going on in the show. Um, yeah,
I wanted to
ultimately,
go
I
ahead.
think it's more artistic than I expected in turn because again, the plot really became secondary by the end, and then ending with that Vietnam scene at the end and like having him just walk into the bush and really as they started playing with the timelines and uh, Hayes's Alzheimer's or dementia and having to come in and out, I think it's done really well. It's just you have to kind of let go of the conspiracies and the mystery hunting that you might have been attached to as you're watching the season, and they really get you again at the end when they actually show you a picture of Russ Cole and Woody
Mhm.
Harrelson from season one, and you're like, oh, here we go, connection
Yeah.
to the pedophile ring. Maybe Woody will show up or something. No, no, not at all.
Nope.
Actually, would you?
Well, did you like that ending scene where he walks into the brush in Vietnam?
I think that scene's really artistic. The scene I liked a little
Mhm.
less was right before where Amelia and Wayne kind
Mhm.
of reunite and just kind of
Okay.
walk off into the sunset together.
Yeah. What did you think of the twist with Julie?
Um, Once you know it, it's kind of like, oh, okay. You know, I think
Hmm.
in hindsight though, it's well done because you're really set up to think that she was abused or perhaps sold into sex trafficking or something bad, right?
Hmm.
And you realize that no, it was actually this disturbed woman who wanted to be a mom to someone, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
you know, I don't know if anyone really got there when they first see the hint of the pink room when Scoot discovers it before he gets axed, Um, Yeah, something ultimately was pretty well. Just I don't know if having the one-eyed dude just kind of deliver everything in a monologue to these old guys masquerading as cops. I don't know if that's the strongest way to go about the reveal, but yeah, overall I liked the misdirect in terms of how the story actually went.
Shout out my favorite line of the year, where Steven Dorff called him a Cyclops motherfucker. Just the way he delivers lines is so good in this show. Yeah, overall, I thought this was a good season. A lot to think about with the final episode. If nothing else, even if you're disappointed with it, it's at least they made a lot of choices, and it's at least something that's interesting and thoughtful. So, um, I would highly recommend True Detective season 3 to anybody that likes season 1, or if you for some reason like season 2 as well. Definitely check it out.
Mm.
I think if you like season 2, you probably will like this a little bit less, because I think what season 2 does is not even close to as coherent and thoughtful as this one.